Well, it's Flying Crow back. Sorry it's been so long since I've done an update, but I thought I'd better do one real quick just to show y'all I wasn't slacking off too much. So here I am in the new train room. It's pretty much finished, and you can see I've got some shelving going up so I can put my layout on it. I've already started laying some track. The only thing I haven't done in the room, I haven't put the baseboard down, things like that. So, you know, some trim stuff that I need to do. But I decided instead of doing that, I'd rather get some track laid and get some work done. So I started, of course, on my yard is where I started, and I ended up having to just redo it all completely, which when I looked at the pieces I already had, there was so many problems. There was so much wave in the track, and you know, laterally and vertically, that I gave up and I just started over. So I was able to salvage some of the switches, and that was about it. But that gave me a chance to buy some micro engineering switches, which are really nice, and believe it or not, they're not the most expensive switches on the market, so which is good. Although I think they're the most prototypical. So I've got that, got track laid down over here. You can see I've started laying track on the outside track is the main line, and the track after that is the tail track for the yard. So that's what I'm going to be tonight. I'm going to be working on laying the ladder system, so to get that done. And then I also was able to go to Discount Model Trains yesterday, and I was got a few things I wanted. Minden Yard had a water tank in it, so I bought this Woodland Scenics water tank, and really nicely detailed. I knew it looked nice, and it was just about the exact one I needed for the yard. It looked just like it was supposed to. I don't know if you can, there's a little bit of glare on the box, but Woodland Scenics did a great job on this. It's already weathered. I might paint out some of the weathering marks. I don't like all the graffiti on there, but that's good. The only thing I'm going to have to change about it is this middle walkway here that goes out to the water pipe. I am going to get rid of that. That was not on the one in the Minden Yard, so that's going to go away. But otherwise, it looks almost exactly like the one in the yard. Another good thing is, if you can see here, it comes with an LED, it says. So there is a red flashing light already on top, and that's good. I don't have to wire that up or anything. One of the things I like about the detail on this is, I don't know how well you can tell it in here, it's still in the package, but on the support wires here, there's actually tensioners on there, so that's pretty good detail for HO scale, I think. And the pump house looks pretty nice. It's got a conduit for the, if you can tell on there, once again, I know there's a little bit of glare, but there's a conduit on top of the pump house for electrical wire to go into. So good detail on this by Woodland Scenics. That's gonna look nice on the layout. The other thing I bought was the paper mill, and I'll have to back out for you to see this, I think. So the HO scale paper mill by Walthers. This isn't going to be a paper mill when I'm done with it. I can't decide if I'm going to have enough room for it for the plywood plant, for the Willamette plywood. So if I don't, what I will use it for is Owens, Illinois, for the fiberglass for the insulation plant that they had in Minden. If you can see, both of those places, Willamette plywood and Owens, Illinois, had where the cars ran into the building like that. So I could use this for either one. I might have to, if I use it for Willamette plywood, I'm gonna probably have to cut it in half and and only used part of it because this is such a huge building. It's the dimensions on it are 20 3/4 inch by 11 5/8. So I'll just have to see once I get track laid if I can make it where I can make it fit. But it's going to be one or the other. So that was a good. I think that was a good purchase from Walthers. So like I say, I've got my track going down. What I've done here is I've used on crossovers, I'm going to use number 8 switches. These are Atlas number 8s, and for the rest of the switches, they will be number 6s, and they're Micro Engineering. So you can see I've got my cork laid down. What I did instead of like I did on my last layout that I had started is I bought this cork off of Amazon, and these are sheets. They were 2x4 sheets of a 1/4 inch cork, so which were a lot cheaper than if I had just bought the cork road bed and placed it together, you know, 2 feet wide. So I think it was a little more economical going with this. The track, when I've laid it down, I have used straight edges. So this time my track's not going to go from side to side. If you can look, let me try to get a good shot here down the track so you can see it looks fairly straight now. So at least as straight as I could get it. So, and that's going to be a big deal in how everything operates, is how straight the track is. So I have been rolling. You see those 2 cars down there? They're one's a 50 foot, one's a 60 foot, and I've been as I've laid track, I'm going to try to roll those over it to make sure the couplers work and the wheels are smooth. I do have some dips in the track. I don't know how prevalent those will be once I finish doing what I'm doing. I'm going to try something different. I have not glued the track down. I've nailed it down, with the nail holes that are in the center of the flex track and the switches. So what I've done is I've nailed it down in those spots, but I'm not going to leave the nails in permanently. Once I put the ballast in, I will actually pull the nails out. So my thought is that the ballast will hold the track in place because it's glued down and it's surrounding the track, especially in the yard. In the yard, it's mostly finely ground ballast that's in the yard, and I'm using grout for that, and grout dries rock hard. As I mentioned in another video, the grout that I'm using, one reason I like using it is because I can lay it down. All I do is spread it the way I want it and then wet it. Once I wet it, it dries rock hard. You don't have to glue it. You don't have to use a bit of glue for grout. And now that I've been able to find some grout in some small containers, here's a container of grout I bought last night at Home Depot. It's better than buying those big boxes they have, because those big boxes, I'll never use everything that's in it. So my plan is, so far, if you could see, I've got my plan taped to the wall here, and this is how it's going to be. This is coming into the yard, and then I'll have the yard here. These are my engine tracks here. In Minden Yard, the 3 engine tracks actually ran off of here. Obviously I don't have room, so I have to use a little bit of modeler's license there and run the engine tracks that way. So this is going, you see the first track is the main line, and then the tail track is second. I've got, and then I've got some storage tracks, and then there's a caboose track and a scale track. And then these 2 tracks coming off of here. This was a repair track, this last one, but I kind of had to have it double as a track to get the piggyback cars in. These are 2 piggyback tracks here. So that'll be where my piggyback loading is done. And then of course it comes around. I've had to eliminate the Y just so I can have a larger radius track. I was not going to be able, if I were going to be able to model the Y completely, it would be worth it. But since the Y would just be going off into the wall, there's no reason to have it and then take up the room I would have had to radius the track. So my radiuses, I'm going to stick to 36 inches all the way around. So far it looks like I can with no problems. So, and you can see over here is where Willamette Plywood's going to be, and then Owens, Illinois is going to be here. So it's going to go, then the main line is going to continue, go across Dorcheat Bayou, and a siding into the Louisiana Army Ammunition Plant is going to be here. But the track's going to continue. As it continues around the wall, it's going to drop a minimum of 16 inches. I'm going to try to get 18 inches out of it. Even at that, it's a steep grade. And the drop is so I can eliminate a helix. I have been warned against helixes so many times that I've just decided to eliminate it. And I'm going to, even though 3 to 3 1/3% grade is really steep and would not be prototypical, just for getting it down to the next level, I don't see a problem with that. I'm going to have to run 2 to 3 engines anyway, so I don't foresee a real problem with that. It's going to be hard climbing up the grade, but I think it'll make it with 2 or 3 engines on the front of the train. So, and then my plan is to get everything done first. On each level, scenicking, track laid and everything, and then once I scenic everything, then I'll go into the second level and start laying the shelving for it. I decided to do it as shelves on brackets because, well, one thing, the brackets are very strong and a little bit more expensive using brackets, but a pair of brackets will support 1,600 pounds. And I'm never ever going to put near that much weight on it. So you can see it's probably overkill as far as weight support, but the reason I wanted to put so many brackets is so the wood would not warp. That's why there's so many shelf brackets on here. So I did put a bracket every 16 inches. I screwed them into the studs. Plus, I'm not the greatest carpenter in the world, so shelf brackets were a safer way for me to go. So that's how I did that. So, a couple other things. I will get in front of the camera here to talk about this. So what I wanted to do is give a couple of shout outs. One to Wilmer over at the Indian Head Valley Railroad. I sent him a few cars. I'm glad he got those. And he's doing good modeling, and he's an enthusiastic guy, and he loves the Lord, so that's a good thing. And I want to give a shout out to Nathan DeLay. He's a younger kid, but he's doing some good kind of scratch building modeling. So go over and make sure, if you hadn't subscribed to his channel, go over and subscribe to his channel. Same with Wilmer and Indian Head Valley. The third shout out, as usual, I always want to talk about Chuck Baker. He over at the River Valley Railroad. He does some good work, and he's switched from HO. So he's abandoned us HO guys and went over to ON30. And one of the main reasons was because he wanted to go to the dead rail stuff. So, which after talking to him a little bit, I decided to do the same thing, was do dead rail. And what's going to happen is I've ordered all the stuff, so I should be getting it in a week or so, maybe a week and a half. But anyway, I'm kind of excited about that. Even though I'm doing HO, what I'm going to do with my dead rail is to put the battery and the receiver in a dummy unit, like a dummy B unit, or I might get a dummy Jeep 9 or dummy SD40 to put in the middle of my consist. So I will have an engine on either side, and with the battery and the receiver, I can actually plug it in with a micro plug into each engine and run it that way. So that way I don't, usually in HO models, you don't have enough room for a decoder and a receiver and a battery. So there might be a few you could get away with doing that. But in this case, what I'm going to do is use a dummy unit and run a micro plug in between the powered unit and the dummy unit. So, and I'm going to be able, I ordered the battery with the highest amperage, the lithium polymer battery, so I can actually run 2 units off of one battery. So that's great that Chuck Baker switched over to that, because like I said, he inspired me to go to that. So a couple good things is I will never have to clean track again, except maybe to dust it off, and I won't have to worry about the wheels getting dirty on the locomotives. And I don't have to worry about wiring my layout. My layout, except for the lights that I'm going to put on it, has no electricity to it. So I'm kind of anxious for that stuff to go in, so I can do a video, and I'll have some more track laid down by the time I get the dead rail stuff installed, and I can do a video showing that. So the batteries last between 2 and 3 hours. So in an operating session, you're not going to constantly be running anything for 2 to 3 hours. So it'll at least last an operating session. So that's, I have no problem with switching to that. And it's probably, you know, not as expensive as you think to get started in it. When I have, I'm going to have about probably 4 different units that'll have the battery and receiver, and they'll all be dummy units. And I'm going to hook them up in turn to all of my engines, all of my different locomotives. So I don't have to worry about putting a battery and a receiver in everything. So just doing it in about four different engine types, I think it'll, you know, it'll cut the cost down. Plus, like I said, I don't have to worry about cleaning wheels, cleaning rail, things like that. So anyway, that's my update for this. I hope y'all will continue to watch, because I know it's kind of boring when trains aren't running yet and there's no scenery laid, but I'm trying to get my track laid as quickly as possible, but do it the right way, so I don't have to worry about taking it up again. Or you know, 5 years from now something happens, because I want this layout to last. I've also, in case I were to ever move, I've made this layout in sections. I'm making sure I lay it in sections. So if I'm to ever to move, the only thing I'm going to have to do is cut rails at the different joints. And then if I were to move it into a different place, then I could just reconnect those rails somehow. So that's all the update I have for right now. Please like and subscribe, and you know, go over and see the other railroads. I mean, there's a bunch of other guys that are doing great work, you know, on their models. You can see who I'm subscribed to. You could go through the YouTube channels and see who's doing other railroads. But there's a whole community of model railroaders out there. And of course, I've only mentioned 3, but there's a lot of guys out there that do some great work and have a great model railroad community. So, you know, I'll try to mention more with different videos, so we can all subscribe to each other and see what everybody's doing. Yeah, anyway, thanks, and have a good evening. Good Memorial Day too.